What up, everybody? Welcome on back. So today we have an amazing energetic healer as the guest. Her name is Susy Schieffelin. And I haven't resonated with a guest like this in a very long time. Her and I had been on a similar journey, and we'd hit rock bottoms mentally and basically went and made major changes in our life. And this journey today, some words that stick out in this conversation are the way you do one thing is the way you do anything, and living in intention, living in integrity, and healing yourself not just on a physical aspect, but an emotional aspect. And Susy, through her sound bowl healing and her sound healings, is able to help so many people heal. And she's even traversed into the business space, working with companies such as Google to help those individuals to heal. And through their healing and their regulating of their nervous system, it actually improves the way they work and the way they relate in the workplace. So today is a beautiful conversation, and actually one of the better conversations I ever had, because it was a back and forth conversation and both of us got a chance to share part of our journeys with each other. And I really enjoyed having Susy here. She's a wonderful person, full of light, and even the way we start this podcast is her bringing us into attunement, and something that I recommend people practice in their lives with their friends, families, or their companies. And this is just a rad journey, and I'm super blessed to be able to bring these conversations to each and every one of you, and I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Okay, all right, sponsor.
Whenever you're ready.
You're all good. So once again, our sponsor, Total Bottle. And yes, I am a part owner in this company, and this is something that me and a couple friends created together. And the main purpose of this bottle is to help the planet and not to use a lot of the single-use products that are around in the world. And it's called the Total Bottle because it is the total solution to using single-use plastics and single-use products, and so that you have something you can use on a regular basis. This can be for the gym, festivals, whatever you want. It's really great for camping, but essentially what we have here is you have a plate that's on the outside that just clips to it. You have a cup on the bottom, and then inside of the bottom, there's a foldable spork that sits inside of it, and it just goes right back in. All of this is dishwasher safe, and it is something you can use on a daily basis. And then as you can see here, there's buttons, and as you close these buttons, this plate then turns into a bowl. And we're super proud about this product, and if it's something that resonates with you and something that you would like to purchase, then you can go ahead and find it on totalbottle.com, and I hope that you get a chance to enjoy this. Thanks again for tuning in, and let's get going. Hello, everybody, and welcome on back. Today, I'm very excited for this podcast. One, first and foremost, because I get to dress so comfy, and I'm really excited that we're both in all white. This is an amazing color that brings purity and just abundance to this conversation, and so I'm really excited to meet you in person. We had a lovely drop-in the other day, and so thank you so much for making the drive down here. I know traffic is a nightmare, so thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's such a treat to meet you, and I love your outfit. I love that you're comfy, and we divinely coordinated in our white.
Yeah, 100%. And so for those of you who don't know Susy, so Susy's full name is Susy Schieffelin. Susy Schieffelin is the owner of the Copper Vessel. It is an LA sound-based healing facility. She is also a spiritual teacher, an entrepreneur, wife, mother, and inspirational speaker who has led sound baths and trainings viewed or attended by millions of people all over the world. Susy has brought healing to employees at companies such as Google, Meta, and Salesforce, and has played crystal bowls with notable artists including LeAnn Rimes and the Los Angeles Philharmonic. Awesome. And has been featured in publications such as WSJ, Vogue, USA Today, and Los Angeles Times. Susy is known for her light-filled presence and ability to guide people towards radiant and empowered lives characterized by self-love, serenity, sobriety, abundance, and joy. She is the founder of the Sound Healers Academy, an innovative crystal alchemy sound healing and spiritual business mentorship training. She serves as a self-love advocate for brands and has created custom product lines and offers deeply restorative crystal alchemy, sound bath ceremonies, and healing rituals both in person and online. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you. It sounds like you're basically traveling the world and you're helping people heal through sound and vibrations, and you're bringing your own light and joy into their lives. And so I'm excited to hear about that journey. And so, yeah, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. Before we dive in, can we take a moment to just close our eyes and take a deep breath and ground in?
Yeah,
Okay, so can I guide us?
of course.
Okay, let's settle in. Allow your eyes to gently close. I'm going to place my hands on my heart just to invoke this heart-centered energy in our conversation. And let's open our hearts together as we take a deep inhale through our nose and a full exhale through the mouth. Another deep inhale. Full exhale. And I'd love to just invite in all of our angels, all of our guides, and the divine to this conversation, and ask that the words that we speak together and all of the messages that are shared may be in service of the upliftment and the healing of all those who listen and all those who receive the vibrations that we put out, spreading healing, light, joy, and love into the world. Let us be clear in our messages and open in our hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it is.
Thank you. You know, it's a beautiful practice, attunement, essentially getting us on the same page. And I really appreciate you doing that, because my last podcast was very intellectual and very heady in a completely different space, just as beautiful, but just very different. And so this is a beautiful practice in shifting energies and shifting conversations. And I think for anybody who's part of a conversation or leading others, doing practices that allow you to get into attunement with the people that you're about to connect with, it really helps to set the basically where the direction of that conversation is going to go, and also the intentions behind it. So that was very nice, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes, I always like to say high intention, low attachment to the outcome. So we set our intentions, we attune together, and you're coming off of such, like you said, a heady podcast, and I'm coming off of driving down from LA very much, in traffic, and just to have that opportunity for us to ground and set our intentions together feels so good. And I'm so excited to see what comes through divinely as we connect today.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I would love to hear, a little bit about your journey, and how did you get started in the sound healing space, and how did you end up where you are today? If you want to take us where you think that journey should start.
Sure. Yeah. It's really been through my own personal healing journey that I came to the work that I now share. And it started when I was young, and I began experiencing a condition called alopecia areata when I was about 7 years old, which is essentially unexplained hair loss. So, we're sitting here today, you see me as this bald woman, but for so many years, that was my biggest secret. It was my biggest pain point, and I felt so much shame, and I created this story when it started to happen when I was 7 that something was wrong with me. And, keeping something like that hidden caused me to experience a lot of anxiety. And as I grew older and, really deepened into that story of feeling broken and like something was wrong, I began to look for ways to quiet the loud noise, chatter that was kind of self-obsessed in my mind. And when I was, in middle school and high school and alcohol became available, through friends, parents, or whatever, just high school parties, that became my solution. And, I would drink to the point of blacking out to numb the pain and quiet my mind.
Yeah.
And that ended up taking me down a pretty dark path.
Yeah.
Where, in my 20s, I was struggling and drinking a lot, smoking a lot. I started taking prescription medications for anxiety, and the combination together led me to black out, pass out, wake up in the hospital sometimes, and eventually hit a real rock bottom in 2015 where I no longer wanted to live. And as I, woke up one morning after a really scary, but by the grace of God, didn't succeed, unsuccessful suicide attempt, I just heard this new voice in my mind that said, Susie, wake up and live. And I started taking it day by day, looking at how I could heal. And that started off with, exploring how to get sober, how to live a path that was reconnecting with who I truly am in my wholeness, and learning to just love myself and accept myself. So along that journey, I experienced a sound bath, and that opened up a whole new world of healing for myself that eventually led me to where I am today.
Yeah. It's a beautiful journey, and I understand dissociation. You know, you're basically just describing escapism in a sense, right? For me, I understand that on a very deep level, like just the stresses and anxiety and your thoughts, and they just are overwhelming, and they're to the point that you are going towards alcohol or going towards other things to help dissociate. And yeah, I think in our world, there's so many opportunities to dissociate. And I think a lot of people, like, they hear alcohol or drugs, right? They're like, that's a common use and extreme uses of dissociation. But for me, like recently, I've realized I've been dissociating by working too much. And, you know, things like work, the gym, food, TV.
Totally.
These are all just different forms of drugs that are helping you to numb. And so you don't have to face your thoughts. And so for you, and I understand, because one point in my life, I definitely was dissociating with like drinking and partying. And essentially it's trying to turn your brain off and to escape from those thoughts. And, you know, there can be just an emotional dissociation, but getting to the point of physically dissociating and literally disappearing from this plane, for lack of a better term, is a very extreme part of it. And so it sounded like you had gotten to your rock bottom, and then you decided to take life into your own hands and to change things. Yeah.
What a beautiful reflection you shared. And, you know, I feel like we can relate over it, and I'm sure I know so many other people can. And it's really, in the world we live in today, I think it's sort of designed to give us so many temptations to check out and dissociate. And the deepest form of healing that I found, which for me, it opened up through sound and Reiki and meditation and yoga. But what all of those really come down to, if you look at the bottom line, is presence. Presence with what is. And I'm curious for you, you know, I know you're on your journey, and you shared that you recently were on a men's retreat and you've been getting really into men's work. What led you to that, and what have you found to be most helpful?
So what led me to that is I was just living my life in a way that I thought was fine, but I started to realize the signs that I was not fine, and I was chronically depressed. And even though everything should have been okay, but I was constantly partying like every weekend. And when I wasn't working, I was partying, so I was just constantly dissociating. And I didn't sit with my thoughts, and didn't want to sit with my thoughts about like for me, it was a lot of loving myself and having unworthiness wounds and just not wanting to confront those emotions. And so it is definitely a testament to being present is something that I've struggled with my whole life. And anxiety lives in the past and depression lives in the future, right? And
Opposite.
Yes, you're right. So depression is in the past and anxiety is in the future. But I just found myself living in the past or living in the future instead of just being at the present moment. And like when I was at Sacred Sons this last weekend, a big practice for me was just I was realizing that I wasn't in the present moment. And there are definitely certain practices that you can do. And a lot of times people are like, get out of your head and get into your body, right? And so like one of the things we do at Sacred Sun is we box or we wrestle and just, not to hurt each other, but to meet each other and to, bring competition. But there's just something about when a man is in front of you and he's confronting you and you're having to fully come to where you are and kind of breaking down those outer barriers. And I know that you can dance through things or just breath work allows you to come to the present moment where you're just focusing on the breath. But there are so many practices, but it's finding what is right for you and not just what is right for you is what I've realized, but what is right for you in that moment. Because I've had several processes because I've been to a lot of Sacred Sons events. A lot of guys I think go once or twice and they think, oh, I'm healed. But for me, sometimes just a meditation back to childhood triggered a very deep sadness wound and something that I need to work through. And then other times it was being confronted by another man that said I was controlling and having to box them and like stand up for myself was like very powerful. And then like this last weekend, what was really present for me was asking for what I needed. because I'm not good at I'm great at helping everyone else. I'm great at helping them with their needs, and you can cannibalize my time as much as you want. But when it comes to me asking for what I want, it was very difficult. And so like I had to lean into that, and I was just asking for help. And then like through me softening and through me just talking about the shit I'd been through in the last year with a lot of loss and just so much going on in my life, it just started flowing out of me. But it's because I was just finally just sitting with it and being vulnerable. And it's one of the brothers, you know, he brought up something to me. I think I usually need to feel invited in before I'm willing to let it out. Otherwise, I feel like I'm taking up space for others. And so a lot of times I think that I've experienced that healing can be a lot easier when it is with another person because they're inviting you to heal and they're inviting you to open up. And I know for me, I've struggled with hating myself a lot of my life and not giving myself enough love. And so being invited by another human being really helps me to soften and open the door. And they're saying, I'm here to hold the space for you. I'm here to listen, and I'm here to help you move through whatever this is, no matter how it looks, whether it's yelling or screaming, and many times it's a combination, crying, all the above. And yeah, and even like Sunday when I left, my voice was shot. And this is not an accurate representation of where I was, but I was like whispering on Monday night because I was just yelling and crying so much and letting all those emotions out. Yeah.
Huge, that release, and you know, having someone to hold space for it, knowing that you're not alone in it, really, and knowing that, you know, when we come together with the intention of healing and having someone to hold space or just be on that journey together, we serve as mirrors for each other, you know? And I always like to say relationship is the highest form of yoga, and that can be applied to many different situations, whether it's romantic relationships or anything. But it's like when you come into relationship with someone consciously and intentionally, so much activates. And I love what you shared too about how it's so important to have a whole toolbox because it's, you know, not just sound healing or embodiment or breath work. Like it's having these tools in the toolbox that we can turn to. And for me, sound was sort of the catalyst that helped me to activate that toolbox, you know, and sound is pure creative potential. And what I see for so many of the people, really all the people that I work with, is when people encounter sound in a conscious way, especially with the crystalline sounds and the crystal singing bowls, it opens up the possibility of just manifesting a whole new path. And then it opens up this way for all the other tools to start flowing in, whether it is through, you know, somatics, yoga, breathwork, meditation. When you experience a sound bath, it's like this portal opens. So I love that you've experienced that and gone down the rabbit hole of building your toolkit.
100%. And I mean, with my experience with sound healing, it's just like sitting and like tuning into the frequency of what's being like brought to you through the sound bowls or the voice, right? And it's just being fully present in that moment and just listening to the music and just being with whatever's coming through, you know. And what you brought up too is like us being mirrors. A lot of times at like these retreats or different events that I've been to, which are for trauma, like healing yourselves, let's not use the word trauma, just healing through whatever it is, watching somebody else heal. A lot of us are going through the same things in slightly different ways, but the emotion and the feelings attached to that is the same feeling that you have within yourself. And just being with somebody else and feeling into those emotions through them will also help to heal you because you're also being present with them and their emotions. And that's going to, we're humans, we're empathic beings. And so you're going to feel that and you're going to heal through whatever you're going through too.
Yes. Oh, incredible.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful journey, and you know, I also respect that you do need many tools in your toolbox, and there's not one way to heal, and healing is not linear, and it's feeling into what is right for you at that moment. And there's a speaker that comes to Sacred Sons. His name is Kevin Walton, Source Radiance. I don't know if you know who he is. He talks about how there's no such thing as good or bad emotions. And I think people like to label them as, you know, sadness and anger are bad and, you know, happiness and joy is good, but that's not it. It's your body is having an experience. You need to allow that experience to happen. And whether it's just feeling it because you need a release because it's energy that needs to move, or it's a feeling that is signaling there's a misalignment in your life and you need to realize that this is something that you need to realign yourself. And so, yeah, emotions are just signals to your body and to your brain. Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of work around that lately, actually, just going deeper into my studies of it. And yeah, I've always known emotions are energy in motion. I talk a lot about that, especially in the sound baths that I lead. I'm like, if you feel an emotion, don't label it, don't judge it, just allow the energy to move, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to even rationalize it, but just release it, allow it to move. But if we look at the next level, which is feelings, right? I think we can have oftentimes positive or negative perspectives of feelings. But if you look at feelings, they really come down to 4 feelings: sadness, anger, joy, and fear. And if you look at them from a neutral perspective, you can then create an empowered story around it. So like anger actually is incredible for motivation, right? Like you can take it and you can use it in its lower form and you can project it onto someone and that victim sort of mentality. Or you can say like, wow, there's anger here. There's energy beneath that. I'm going to use that as fuel to drive me to rise above it and be creative. So I love looking at feelings and emotions from that perspective of really radical self-responsibility and using them as fuel and motivation.
Yeah, to go even deeper, something that Kevin Walton, the same guy, taught me this last weekend was you can have an emotion and then sometimes you want to look at it so you step outside of it. But then for me, what was happening, for example, is I was having trouble accessing my grief. And he's like, you need to step outside of that emotion and then realize there's probably another layer of emotions in relation to that emotion. So he asked me, when you think about grief, what are you feeling? And I was like, I feel shame. And I feel, like embarrassment. And for me, like growing up, I was not told to have those emotions or to feel them. So I needed to work past not just allowing myself to feel the grief, but I had to work past allowing myself to get past the shame and embarrassment that was surrounding my grief just so I could even get to my grief. And so it was like this outward approach of taking it step by step and realizing that there's layers to your emotions and you have to be able to observe them and to really feel into what's needed to get to the root.
Yeah, it's so true for me. And I know you touched upon this for yourself too, but like I have this fear that if I feel a feeling, like it's inconvenient or I'm too much, like I'm going to become a burden.
I feel the same.
So rewriting the story to be like, okay, like there are places where it is safe for me to express that. Maybe it's not everywhere, right? Like if I'm leading a training or leading a sound bath, I'm not going to get on there and like, that's not the space necessarily to process it. But where do we go, right? Like the people coming to the sound bath, that could be a space for them to process or a one-on-one healing session. That is the space to process.
100%.
So for me to make sure that I have my team dialed in and I'm consistently going to healers and my mentors and my teachers to keep going deeper and deeper in my own healing journey.
And you're also taking on to people's stuff when you're doing these things, right? Just being in their energetic sphere, it can be very, very intense for you. And, I guess like I think that allowing yourself to feel those feelings is just an act of self-love. And so if a lot of times if you struggle with self-love, it's like just allowing yourself to know that you are safe and you are okay to feel these things. And it's so funny that you bring this up because, like this last weekend, I was having trouble tapping into these emotions at a men's retreat that is designed for me to tap into these emotions. And so it disheartens me to show that I don't even have that level of self-love to allow myself to feel in a place that is designed for me to feel. And I still need to be invited in to feel, even though this entire event is orchestrated for me to just feel. That's why I'm there. That's what everybody is there is for. And so, being in the right space can allow it to flow a lot easier and to also know when it is the right time and when it's not, because a lot of times it isn't. Not a lot of times, but just specific times.
Yeah, and it may be, like letting go of any judgment around the situation, but like it may be that gave you the awareness of like what needs to come next so that you can create another space that is safe for you to go to deeper. Sometimes it is in the group setting and there's that big cathartic release. And then sometimes it's like, oh, well, I feel this and I'm going to take this somewhere else to process.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So you've had an opportunity of working with a lot of big companies and going in and doing healing there. And I really like that because I think that's just an aspect of the world that is not as coherent. Like a lot of times healing and emotional trauma and all this stuff is not discussed in the business world. And so have you realized that there's like a specific type of company, or what has been your experience with bringing this healing to companies like Google?
I mean, first of all, I love that the corporate world is now opening up so much to the importance of mental health, of healing, and creating space for their employees to do this work. And for me, I like to think of it as sort of like I'm this Jedi who gets to go in and infiltrate. And, I can dress magically and woo-woo, but I can also exist in the world, and show up and navigate the corporate space. And so I think to be able to come in and, people may or may not know what they're coming to. If they are like, okay, I'm going to go to this meditation, right? It's there for them to relax, bottom line, to relax. And what I find is that relaxation takes place and then it opens up so much healing, so much possibility, so much creativity in the workspace that allows people to then be more productive, show up more fully, be more inspired, feel more grounded in their work and in their lives. And it leads to such an optimal work environment. So for me, I love working with companies. Yeah, like Google, like YouTube, bringing, Salesforce, I got to go up to San Francisco and lead an amazing event for their team, which was broadcast all around the world. And just knowing that people, are in their workday going, stressing, one thing after another, and they can lie back, relax, and open up to what's truly present for them.
Yeah, because it's so interrelated. Are you familiar with Joe Dispenza's work?
Mm-hmm.
So I took a Joe Dispenza course, and essentially, he explains that our brain is not able to function, our body's not able to function when we're in these states of inflammation. So inflammation is caused by fight or flight, stress, anxiety, and so the more we're inflamed, they showed a neuron trying to create new neural pathways. And they showed the speed and the capability at which it was able to do that when you're in a state of inflammation or fight or flight. Yep. And that thing is barely chugging along. It's not even able to really make new connections. And then it showed when you're in a relaxed meditative state, alpha and theta states, right? Mm-hmm. Essentially, you're able to create new neural plasticity. And not only that, but tap into your creativity. Yeah. Your brain functions much better, but you also can just make decisions in a more effective manner. Mm-hmm. And so being able to tap into that relaxation is not just good for your emotional state, but also for your work. Yeah. And so, it's a beautiful tool that you're able to take and share in the business world. And I think as people understand the science behind it, that they're all interrelated and they're all interconnected.
Absolutely. And how actually relaxing is one of the most productive things that we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. A big part of my practice after the year that I've had is realizing my nervous system's dysregulated. And I have it on my goals to set 2 days a month to do nothing. So literally scheduled days to do nothing. And whatever that looks nothing like, maybe I'm going to watch anime, maybe I'm going to go on a hike, maybe I'm just going to eat some food that I like. But these days are days for me to literally do nothing, talk to no one, hang out with nobody, and just to be with myself and to chill out, because they're just important as my work days where I'm doing an insane amount of things every single day.
Yep. I love that. I do the same. I have times blocked off in my schedule every week, and then at the first of the month, every month, or around, around the month, it's usually the new moon right now, I go to the Korean spa and I just take the whole day to recharge. And I find that by the end of that day, I've had so many downloads, so much inspiration. And I'm just completely ready to go again. And without 100%. That, it's like you just get burnt out. Your nervous system goes into a state of fritz and contraction.
Yeah, 100%. Your cup has to stay full so you can keep pouring into others. Otherwise, it just keeps hurting you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I understand that.
And in a world that's so busy and there's so much pulling at us from every direction at all times, literally 24/7, we're being bombarded with information, requests, and texts and emails. It's like, to pause and carve out the space. No one's going to do it for you, right? So to say like, okay, I am committed to filling up my cup first. This morning even, I have 2 little babies and they're amazing and they're young, and I am someone who needs to start my day with meditation. Like, it's essential. And in order for me to share the work that I do and exist as a functioning and sober and sane human, like, it has to happen. And this morning, both of my babies woke up, and it's like, okay, what do I do? You know, and in a moment like that, which I know so many people can relate to in so many different ways. You wake up to the email, or you wake up to the phone call, or you wake up to your child screaming, or your partner, this or that. It's like we have every excuse not to do it. Every excuse to say like, well, I'm going to put someone else first. I'm going to put that thing first. And I was like, no, I need to do my meditation.
Yeah.
And this morning it looked like doing it with my 7-month-old on my lap, but it's like I did it, you know, and I gave myself that opportunity to carve out the space first and foremost.
Yeah, but I think also too, like, I don't have children yet, but it's definitely something I've thought of. Like, you're also teaching your child at 7 months old that it's okay to meditate and take a moment for themselves. Because if they're constantly just seeing you dysregulate your nervous system and not take time for yourself, then that's the habits that they're going to create for themselves. So if you can do these things that might not make sense to a child, but if they see that it's good and that it's benefiting you, they will just intuitively start doing it too.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful that you could do that.
I know my son will come in the morning sometimes after I'm done. He's like, Mommy, are you meditating? Can I meditate? And I'm like, I love that he knows that, you know, and he never has to see me explode or react because I have that practice and because I fill my cup. And my mom is incredible and did an amazing job raising me and my 3 sisters. And my dad worked so much. He was traveling all the time when we were little, and he did his best. But like, she didn't have the tools and she didn't have the space. And so part of what I'm committed to as a mom is like really filling up my cup so that they can experience a regulated nervous system. Right. And that's what they learn is possible. And it's only possible when we take care of ourselves. We put our oxygen mask on first.
Yeah, 100%. And understanding that everybody we come in contact with, we're affecting with our energy and where we're at as a person. And if we're constantly dysregulated, we're going to make everyone around us dysregulated. Yeah, I got the reflection hanging out with a friend the other day, just how calm and how much better they felt after hanging out with me. And I was like, that's a really great compliment. And it's because like I make it a point to try to stay calm and stay grounded as often as possible. And even like a podcaster that I had a couple of guests ago, he was talking about like not only are we affecting people energetically, but there's actually studies now showing that our gut biome is constantly being released out of our body. And if you're healthier than somebody else, you can actually affect their gut biome, and also them too can affect yours. And so literally we're like exchanging DNA, we're exchanging cells, and this is just happening and energy when we're ever in the space of another person. And that's why it's so important to keep in mind. It's important to share space with people that are going to help you and not take you down.
It's so true. And just like the ripple effect that we have and what type of ripple do you want to make?
Yeah.
You know, just as they say, hurt people, healed people, healed people. And when you go out, whether it's getting your coffee and smiling at the barista or holding the door for someone or telling someone, I love your outfit, you look amazing, you know, making someone's day, then they go forward and they make somebody else's day, and that ripple goes out. We don't even know how far.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess like too, even just paying attention to that there are going to be times where I'm not going to always hang out with the most optimal people, and it's like guarding my energy and figuring out how to do that too, but understanding that you also being around the people that are the most hurt is so helpful to them that it can help them heal on a very deep level too.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like having a personal practice, a personal healing practice, as well as meditation, breath, whatever it looks, journaling, something that's self-reflective, so that when you go into those situations, which it's inevitable, right? We're going to encounter people who aren't necessarily on our same frequency in life, and knowing what's mine and what's not.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not unconsciously taking on other people's energy. It's literally, it's sound healing. It's the laws of entrainment, right? Like we're entraining to other people's frequencies around us. And if you recognize, oh, this isn't mine, you can choose to be the bigger, more powerful frequency that then creates a shift and lifts them up, as opposed to getting drawn into theirs.
Yeah, super cool. So I guess I have some specific questions about like the healing bowls and like the modalities that you use. Have you realized that certain frequencies trigger certain responses in certain people versus other frequencies?
Definitely. So every human is individual. Like everybody's energy system is completely their own. And we've identified in the space of sound healing that particular frequencies correspond with different chakras or different endocrine glands. But it's also not one for one. So for example, I have a few bowls in front of me. These are bowls that work with the endocrine system. So the white one here, for example, the note is G sharp, which is corresponding to the thyroid gland. and it's working with the throat chakra. And then because it's a little bit higher than the note that corresponds with the throat chakra, it's also activating the third eye chakra. So some people, might experience a sound bath, and while many bowls are being played, all of a sudden they start to feel an activation in their throat chakra. And it could very well be that it's that bowl. It could otherwise be, I don't have a bowl specifically that is an alchemy bowl right here that's working with the throat chakra, but perhaps it's a bowl that's infused with the intention of Egyptian blue. So it's blue. It's bringing in energy that's healing the throat chakra. Even if that bowl's note is, for example, for the root chakra, it could still activate the throat. So it's really a complex and dynamic system. It's really quantum healing. Yeah.
Got it. And when you say like endocrine system, what does that mean exactly?
So the glandular system in our body that helps to regulate our, metabolism, our sleep function, reproductive function. So you were talking about being in fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
And how if we get into that state, which largely is managed by our adrenal glands, it can cause a lot of inflammation. It can cause a lot of repercussions. So if none of these bowls are working specifically with the adrenal glands, that would be a D sharp. But if we're working with a bowl that's tuned to that note, it would help to balance it and specifically shift us into the parasympathetic nervous system.
Got it. Okay, super cool. And so each bowl essentially seems to correlate to a specific chord on the musical system.
Not a chord.
Not a chord.
Chords are combinations of notes.
I guess sound or frequency, meaning like D sharp or F sharp.
Yeah, note. Yeah. And it's cool because the bowls, they have overtones. So it's not like one consistent frequency. So for example, like an A, I'm getting so nerdy. Sorry. I love
this. Yeah.
Like an A tuned to 440, that frequency, will play exactly at 440 hertz. But it could have overtones. So some of the frequencies coming in as you play it and you swirl it and you chime it might be a little lower or a little higher. So it's touching the space in between the notes, which means that it's touching the space in between the chakras. So it really brings a deeper healing to our energy system.
How cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one?
Oh my gosh. I have like 37 bowls. So I only read a few out today.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I just got, I should have brought it. I just got a really cool new bowl.
Yeah.
It's called the practitioner bowl. So it is like these, but it has a handle. So you can actually hold it as you play and you can walk around. It's great for doing.
And it doesn't affect the frequency with the handle?
No.
How cool.
No.
Yeah.
And this one, it's called a satellite bowl. So it looks like a UFO.
Okay.
And it's like a dish. So the other practitioner bowl that I have, it looks more like these bowls. This one's like actually like a satellite. And it's super cool. I just got it in Mount Shasta. It's amazing. And
Gotcha.
I'm loving that one right now.
Gotcha. And do you have a favorite frequency that you like that seems to resonate the most with you?
So in terms of, I don't say I work with specific frequencies because the bowls have overtones.
Yeah, they have the overtones and undertones. And
But
also, I'm guessing it's situational. So it depends also probably on the mood that you're in and what you want to listen to and what resonates with you.
Yeah, but the way that I would talk about like frequencies that I love as a crystal singing bowl sound healer is more in terms of tuning systems. So there's three different tunings that we typically work with in sound healing. Tuned to 432 hertz, which is a very grounding frequency, 440 hertz, which is the frequency of modern day music today, and then 528 hertz, which is known as a frequency associated with DNA repair, total healing, and unconditional love. So I personally love to make art and mix and match them, but if I had to choose one, I would say 528 hertz is my favorite.
Okay, and when you say like tuning to, do you mean just like choosing the frequency that you want to use? Is that what you meant by using that term?
So no, it's literally like if you think about like tuning a piano, so that all of the notes on the piano play in harmony with each other.
Yeah.
If one's out of tune, you would know it's not in sync numerically relative to the other notes on the piano.
Yeah.
So for the tuning system of 440 hertz, A is at 440, and then the other notes are relative to that. For 432 hertz tuning, A is a little bit lower. And then for 528, A is a little bit higher. So
Do you have a history and musical background?
I studied piano and violin growing up, and then I kind of let it go. I sang throughout school. I always loved to play intuitively by ear. So if I like sit in front of the piano, I hated like studying music.
Yeah.
I more so wanted to just like play and create and play songs that I could feel.
Yeah.
And then since I've, gotten into sound healing, I've worked with a number of different teachers and studied voice and music, which has been great. But I would by no means call myself an absolute expert in music theory.
No, 100%. But it also seems that your knowledge has expanded on music theory as you've gone deeper and deeper down this road. And I guess I'm more asking, did you have to like learn some basic music theory to really learn and attune to these bowls? And when specifically were you like, bowls is what I want to learn and this is what I want to do?
So I started off learning to play the gong. The first sound healing teacher I worked with was incredible with the gong, and he would play frosted singing bowls, and I would play the gong in the sound baths. And I just felt called more and more to the crystal bowls. My first experience in a sound bath was with the crystal alchemy bowls, and so that was like my goal, was to get to them. But it's a big investment. One bowl can be quite expensive.
About how expensive?
They start at $600,
Oh, wow.
about $600 each,
I didn't
and
realize
then
that they were that
some
high.
of them can go up to like $75,000 for one.
Jesus.
So it really, I would say mine are on average like $2,000 to $4,000 each.
Wow.
But yeah,
Is it-
you can get really wild with it.
Got it. And it's just because of the elements that it's made with, and I'm sure there's many factors that go into it, but just like how it's shaped, or there's just a lot of different things.
The size, the alchemy that's in it. So if there's one alchemy, it's at one price point. If there's multiple alchemies, it gets more expensive.
What does alchemy mean?
So, sorry, I should.
No, you're all good.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, of course.
So the bowls that I play are made by a company called Crystal Tones. There's lots of brands of bowls out there, but the Crystal Tones alchemy bowls are the ones that I play. And when they say alchemy, they have a secret process of infusing different crystals, precious gemstones, earth elements, and metals into the bowls to bring different healing properties and different elements. So the bowls are made of 99.9% clear quartz crystal.
Okay.
It's mined sustainably in North Carolina. And then they have their own magical process that infuses the bowls with the intentions of things like rose quartz or platinum or diamond, charcoal. This one's charcoal and palladium. This one's pink ocean gold and platinum.
It's so pretty.
And yeah, this one's mother of platinum, yagna, which is ash from pujas, ceremonies in India. And then, it's just platinum and the yagna. And then this one's violet flame. So they infuse intentions into it. And depending on that, it's at different price points.
That's super cool.
Yeah. I forgot how we got on that. I was going down a path. The bowls are expensive. How I started working with the bowls.
Yeah.
So, I felt called to them. And the first bowl that I got, I ordered on Amazon. I had no idea. I was just like, I'm going to order a frosted bowl on Amazon.
Gotta
I
start
think
somewhere.
it was like $80, and that was what I could afford at the time.
Yeah.
Started playing that. And then when it was unplanned, but it was divinely guided, left my corporate job, I contacted someone who sold the Crystal Tones alchemy bowls, and I was like, this is it. I knew when I left my job, I was like, okay, I'm stepping onto a path as a healer. I remember my mom even being like, Susie, it's much easier to find a job when you have a job. And I was like, this is what's happening right now. I'm a healer now. So I bought my first 3 crystal alchemy singing bowls. I spent about $3,000 on the first 3.
Yeah.
It was like one of the biggest investments I'd made other than buying a laptop or like paying for school. It felt like a huge stretch, especially when I was quitting my job.
How old were you when you started this journey?
It was 7 years ago. I'm about to turn 36. So I was like 29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure your parents were like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they were like, you good?
Yeah, are you good?
In my first year of sobriety, became a Reiki practitioner, was playing the gong on Sunday nights. They were like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what's happening?
My parents are open. They're so supportive of whatever, I'm inspired by, and they're not judgmental
That's awesome.
to even the most woo-woo thing.
Yeah.
Even though, born and raised in Greenwich, Connecticut on the East Coast, like very much 3D world of finance, like get a job, live in the matrix kind of vibe. But my parents are amazing and they're just like, okay. But yeah, when I left my job, they were like, are you sure? Yeah. And I spent my savings. I got those 3 bowls and I led my first sound bath on the beach. About a month and a half later, I just like played them for a few months and worked with a teacher, read every book I could find, began studying, and that began my journey. So over the years, I've studied with multiple mentors and read countless books, and I lead my training and I bring amazing guest teachers into my training to supplement what I'm able to teach and share. So there's an incredible guest teacher who comes in every round. Her name's Terry Eld, and she has sang on Broadway. She's an incredible musician, and she teaches like the nitty-gritty elements of the music theory. So I give like the basic intro to it, and through her coming into my training, I've really gotten to go so much deeper into my journey and understanding. And it began intuitively. Like it began, and I like to say that to people who are curious about sound healing. They're like, but I don't know, like which notes go together. I'm like, well, listen and feel, right? Like, and we're talking about the beginning of this, like getting out of our heads and into our hearts, right? Like, yes, sound healing is a science, but I really feel at the end of the day, it's an art. Like healing is an art, and there's no right or wrong. There's no one size fits all. And it's a balance of taking like the information, the science, the knowledge, and making it into an art that feels good. And it's like this remembering. So I like to tell people, get started playing intuitively and then learn as you go, right? Like inform yourself, educate yourself so you can feel empowered and have fun with it. Like what feels good to you, right? And play with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like anything in life, you can recognize when something's in dissonance and when it's not working together, and you can feel when it feels right and when it is right. And so, you know, it's awesome to hear that you were just following your passion and going down that road, even though it wasn't what a normal path would look like. And it's funny because, like, I'm just reflecting in my own journey that my parents definitely are not into any of the woo-woo stuff, for lack of a better term, but just the more conscious, healing, emotional side of it and that type of stuff. But I think it's because I'm so grounded in the business realm and in that side of me that they are much more receptive to the things that I talk about, because they're like, you have that side of the world handled. So if you want to explore this other side of the world too, we're completely cool with it as long as you stay grounded in this world. But if I wasn't grounded in this world, my brother is like the opposite. He's very much in this world, nothing in this world. And so my parents kind of reject whatever he does and whatever he says. But because I have such a solid foundation in both, that it's much more digestible for them.
I love that. Yeah. And I feel like there's so much magic in being able to bridge that gap, right? Like for me, I feel as well. I'm like, I try to keep one foot in like the grounded material world, and then I get to have the other foot in the spiritual realms and help bring that down. And people who are just starting to wake up and aren't necessarily like fully immersed in it yet, it can feel like too big of a jump sometimes when someone comes in full on like garb, barefoot, like off the beach, just speaking like all spiritual language. And it's like, okay, what?
Yeah.
Versus,
what did you just say to me? Deer in headlights.
If you can meet them where they're at, it can help to open up so much more.
100%. Yeah. And that's part of the practice, and part of the reason that I have the podcast is like trying to help bridge this side between both worlds. Because definitely, like being a personal injury attorney, we deal with the physical aspect of injuries, like that's all we're dealing with. But understanding that there's a huge emotional aspect, and really that needs to be considered also and worked on. But they don't teach those tools. From my experience, it seems that the people that learn those tools learn it through firsthand experience and going down their journey, and it's not really something that's accepted by modern science. And like insurance companies and just like, you know, medical companies, like they don't see that stuff as real healing, even though it's just as important.
Yeah, it's so true. And oh my gosh, I was in a car accident a few years ago when I was pregnant with my son, and I was 11 weeks pregnant.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, is okay. I went, to the hospital, got checked out, but I was traveling. I wasn't at home. I didn't have like access to. Did I have my samples? I didn't have my samples with me. I was there for a wedding, but I couldn't shake it, and it felt very intense for a few days. And then once I got home, it still was like lingering in my auric field, in my energy field, like the trauma of the accident that had taken place. And I really, in order to clear that, because I didn't want it to be passed on to my son, right? I didn't want him to hold that trauma, which it would. So I got to really intentionally work with my singing bowls. I got to go receive a lot of body work, a lot of healing work from my healers and mentors to clear it. And like when we're in an accident, so much of it is like, like how do I make sure I'm, physically okay, I'm monetarily compensated, whatever it may be, like everything's taken care of. But that energetic side of things, I think, can be forgotten. And then we wonder why years later we develop something that's, a chronic back pain or heart or whatever it may be. And it's because we haven't fully cleared the energy of it. Have you noticed that with your clients?
Yes, I have noticed it for my clients. And I mean, like, I don't like to speak for other people's experiences, but I mean, like, I was talking to another guest who was on the podcast recently, and she was like explaining how we hold certain emotions in certain body parts, and all of our body parts and specific functions are connected in meridian lines and energetic flows. And so when you hold like fear, or you hold sadness, or you hold grief, it can affect different parts of the body. And so if you don't work through those emotions, no matter how many treatments you do, no matter how many peptides you take, no matter how many stem cells you do, you're not going to heal, because there's an emotional blockage there that needs to be worked through before you can get to that next level of healing.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've had an incredible career as a lawyer, and you've gotten your foot into the spiritual world and the healing realm as well. How did that happen? I know that it doesn't happen by mistake, that people sort of wake up to this path.
No, it was just reaching like a rock bottom in my life, and like feeling that I needed something different. And I started seeing actually one of my best friends, John, and John and I were friends for a long time, and he just changed, and he found his voice, and he started speaking up, and he started going to like men's groups and started like meditating and doing different practices. And I saw a change in him, and I was like, I want a change in myself, because I'm not, feeling the best version of myself. And so he just opened the door for me, and I went to my first Sacred Sons event, and then I started just deep diving down different podcasts, Peter Crone, Aubrey Marcus, and just like, all the Blue of Earth, all these individuals, Andrew Duque, like all these people that are just all about this journey. And for me, it's very much listening to my intuition. 'Cause it's funny, there's some days where I'll like I have a list of podcasts that I want to listen to, and some days I'll just like put my thumb over the list, and I'm like, no, yes, that's the one that I need today. And I'm like, I don't know why, but that's the one that's calling to me. And it's like, that was the medicine that I needed that day. And so it's been a very intuitive journey. And for me, like, my intuition is just really just, having a conversation with God a lot of the time, and feeling into what the divine is guiding me to at that moment. And it's been a beautiful journey, scary as hell, especially in the beginning, because I was so disconnected from my intuition. Because I think just growing up, I was very much taught to think with my logical mind and not listen to what my heart was telling me, and to go down that path. And so I had literally cut that cord almost entirely. And so when I first started listening into what I really wanted and what was really guiding me, it was terrifying. And I was like, I don't know why, but I'm like, this is just the right choice. And I just know it's the right choice, even though it's not the logical choice. And I'm just going to go this way. And then it became simple ways, and like being like, when I was traveling by myself, like I did a journey around the world by myself.
I saw you did it, Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah, an Eat, Pray, Love journey. Yeah.
And it was like,
it was like, I'd be walking down the streets of Florence, and I'd be like, I don't know why, I'm going to make a left on this street. I didn't have anywhere to go. I was like on my own schedule. I was doing my own thing. And then I'd be like, I'm going to make it right here. And then I would end up at this amazing museum, or I would end up at this restaurant that's one of the best experiences of my life. And it was just literally the subtlest of things. But there's always just this, if I believe that the divine is always there, and it's always present. And, even if it's just having a conversation with myself and feeling into what I know is best for me, like following and pulling on that thread is always going to lead you down the best route. And so it's like a muscle. The more you work that muscle, and the more you become in tune with your intuition, the stronger it gets. And also the harder it gets to ignore it. And, so when you've done a lot of work and you've taken care of yourself, you don't make bad choices anymore, because you know the harm that it does for you. And you're like, why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. I need to take care of myself. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love love that. Oh my gosh, you're making me think of, there's a prayer from A Course in Miracles. I don't know if you're familiar with the Course at all.
That is Elizabeth Gilbert, right? Oh, no. God, what is her name? I just saw her speak at Love Rising recently.
Oh, yeah, Marianne Williamson.
Marianne
She
Wilson.
teaches it. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
I just saw her speak. Yeah, and
Oh.
I read half of her book. Not to say anything wrong with her, but I felt like I'd come to a lot of the conclusions she was sharing in the book because I had already done that Eat, Pray, Love journey on my own.
Totally.
And so I had literally physically experienced that journey instead of having to hear it from somebody else.
Right.
But seeing her speak recently, she's awesome. But what were you going to say about her?
I was going to say, so not about her, but the course that she teaches, the material, there's a prayer in it that's, God, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? And it sounds like you were living that, and it was just being validated on your Eat, Pray, Love journey.
100%, yeah. And a recent practice, that same thing Kevin Walton, this gentleman, suggested, is looking in the mirror every day. And like, I have my affirmations, I have my gratitudes, and I do like to look in the mirror and say them. But he said, just looking at yourself and being like, what do you want to show me today? And just asking yourself that question. And that question alone will lead you to all the questions that you just said. Yeah. Because it's just, what do you want to, it's more, what do you want to reveal to me today? And just that revelation of whatever, it's an emotion or some pulling on some thread or reading something that I have been ignoring, or maybe meditating because I feel it, or going on a walk. Like, it's just, what do you want to reveal to me today? And actually listening into that, and not, what do I have to do today, to get done? It's more just, what is going to be shown to me.
I love that. And we were sort of talking about this yesterday on our check-in call about, just being open to unexpected blessings, unexpected opportunities, money flowing in unexpected ways. Yeah. How has that manifested for you?
I think I've just come to a point in my life where I realize everything I've ever asked for has shown up. It just took a lot longer than I expected. And so it's understanding that we are human antennas. And so the thing that we are calling to us, as long as we believe it's going to happen and we're living a life in intention to bring it to us. So for me, living in intention, the Latin root means to be in constant tension. So your thoughts, your belief, and your actions, as long as you're pulling on all three threads equally, will pull whatever you're desiring towards you. And so for me, it's understanding that as I live in intention and follow my intuition, that it is going to arrive as long as I keep doing the things necessary for it to arrive. And most of the time, it never shows up the way I expect it. And the more I keep trying to be like, this is how it's going to happen, this is it, but that's not it. It's like, maybe you have a desire for doing something, and then you're just randomly one day thinking, or you listen to a podcast and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that book that just randomly just popped in my head out of nowhere, but why did I remember that right now? Or I'll be thinking about what I want, and I'll be like, I don't know why, I haven't spoken to this person in 3 years, but they're just popping into my head, so maybe I should call this person. And it's just, once again, listening to your intuition and understanding that it will arrive exactly when it's meant to arrive, but also when you're ready for it to arrive. And a lot of times I've just realized, like, if I got the shit that I wanted when years ago, I wouldn't even know what to do with it, or I would have squandered it, or did something stupid, or wasted it, and it just would have not landed. And so it's just, everything is arriving in divine timing, exactly when I'm supposed to receive it, and also when I'm ready to receive it.
I love that. It's like there's these breadcrumbs. It's like God, the universe, the divine is giving us these little breadcrumbs, and the more we follow them, the more it supports us in becoming the person who does the thing or receives the thing. And it's like, sometimes I think so hard, and I don't know if you feel this way about manifesting, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, but it's like, you see the vision, right? Like, I always think about how, we're not given a vision if it's not possible for us, right? There's so many things out there that I've never even thought about, and they're not for me. For me, like, I dream of singing bowls. Like, there's so many people in the world who've never even heard of a singing bowl, right? It's not for them. But like, if a singing bowl comes into my awareness, it's because I'm destined for it. And like, if I had gotten those singing bowls in the very first sound bath that I went to, I wouldn't have known what to do with it. I had to go through that whole year of following breadcrumbs. So it's like, how do you hold the vision, but with a low attachment to how it's going to come to fruition, right? And like, when it's going to come to fruition, and just one step at a time, following the breadcrumbs that lead you to becoming the person that receives it.
This is a conversation I was like having with my ex-girlfriend the other day. She's like in a in-between place, and it's like understanding that the in-between place is just like you're figuring it out, and not knowing is just part of the journey. And a lot of times you're not going to know. And like, there's like three things that comes to mind. Is one, when I'm manifesting something or desiring something, it's the feeling of having it in this moment. If you are constantly desiring something, the premise of desire is that it's perpetuating a want for something that you don't have.
Yeah.
So when I like desire something, like I really want to buy my dream house. And so whenever I take the time to meditate, I see myself in the house. I see myself walking out my backyard, my amazing view. I see my pool. I see exactly how it looks and it's designed, and I feel myself in that house. Or like when I'm calling in my partner, I feel how they feel. I, see how they look. But the look is not the most important thing, but it's just like the way we relate to each other and like feeling that person and bringing it into reality. And so it's coming from a place of ownership almost, like it's already mine, and it's just a matter of time before it gets to me. And one of the guys at Sacred Sons thing, he said, when you're like manifesting something, it's just a matter of willingness and effort to get to where you want to go. You already have seen it, and then I call that reverse engineering. So it's like, the end goal. What are the exact steps to get to that goal? And if you're taking those exact steps and you're living in intention, it's just a matter of time before it comes. And I had this huge revelation the other day where be careful what you ask for, because you ask God to be strong.
Gives you the opportunity
God's
to lift
gonna
something
whoop
heavy.
your ass. That's the only way he becomes strong. He's not gonna give you easy shit to do.
No, or like, I want to be patient.
Yeah.
Gonna get an opportunity to practice being patient.
Oh my God. I was in the sauna and I was just like having this moment because in the sauna, I meditate and I try to manifest and think about the things that I want. And I literally had this moment and I was like, I need to stop asking for things. And I just like took a breath and I just sat there and be like, I don't want anything else right now. I've already requested all the things I want. I know they're coming. I'm doing all the things for them to come. I'm good. And I just and for the first time in my life, I said to myself, I'm actually good. And I know the things that I really desire are on their way, but the other things I was about to ask for, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to play out. So I'm going to chill out on these ones for a second because it's already been a hard year and I just can't handle anything else at this moment. Yeah.
I love that. Such powerful awareness. And then I think it opens up so much more magic when you then can be in a space of knowing you already have everything you're supposed to have. You're going to have exactly what you're meant to have when you're meant to have it.
Yeah.
So enjoy life.
Yeah.
Right? Since my daughter Joy was born, I've been living in joy, right?
Yeah.
Since she was born, I've just been okay, I'm just going to appreciate every moment, right? Just appreciate it. I know that there's going to be more to come, right? But what if rather than trying to get to the next thing, it's I just let life flow through me. I'm God, let me be a channel. Show me how I'm supposed to show up today.
Yeah.
And enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. And, I wanted to just bring something up for the people that are listening. I see you as somebody living in purpose. You're living in passion. You're doing what you're called to do. And you've gone through the dark night and you are where you are. And we're speaking from a place of understanding that we got what we want. But I didn't know forever when I was younger and I was young and dumb and I was making the wrong decisions and I was wanting all these things. I was super shaky. I'm I don't know if I'm ever going to get what I want out of life. And I remember being super depressed about it. But once again, it's I'm much further down the road and many of the things I've asked for have come to fruition. And that's why I'm in such a deep gnosis now that I'm going to get what I want. But there was most of my life, probably until 32 years old, that I did not know I was going to get anything that I wanted. But it's because I wasn't crystal clear on what I wanted. And I was not living a life of intention. I was just floating by the seat of my pants, figuring it out. But I just wasn't also manifesting things and calling in specific things.
Yeah. And I feel it's intention as well as integrity. And it's sometimes, I know I was saying becoming the person who has the thing, but it's also letting go of the person who doesn't have the thing.
Yeah.
So if you're calling in your partner, right? Have you cut the cords with all of your exes, right? Are you still, do you have a clean energy field to really attract them? Or if you are calling in a dream home, or for me, when I was manifesting my second baby, right? Have I become the mother that she needs? Have I let go of, I had to really grieve having one child and what it would mean to have a bigger family, right? It's a beautiful thing. It was what I wanted. And in order for her to come, I had to process the emotions of wow, it's not just going to be the three of us anymore.
Yeah.
Or even having one baby. It's not just me flying solo anymore. I'm probably not going to be in India for a month for a few years.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's what you're gaining and what you're sacrificing.
Yeah, and like being willing to let go. It's like the Michelangelo David thing where it's like you're just chipping away at what is not David.
Yeah,
right?
It's already in there. It's just about getting rid of the stuff that's not part of the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that takes a lot of awareness and a lot of, I think, trial and error and a lot of failure, and it's all the things, right?
Yeah.
And so it's beautiful that you're able to see both sides of it.
Yeah, and I think, we can either learn through pain or learn through wisdom. And there's points in our journey where like pain is the thing that motivates us. And we have to get to that point, that rock bottom where it's like, okay, I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let it go.
Yeah.
And then we can hopefully get to a point where it's like, I don't want to have to, like you were saying, like, I don't want to have to like feel bad after eating the thing or drinking the thing to be like, oh, I shouldn't eat that thing or drink that thing. I'm going to know that's not the highest vibrational choice I can make.
Yeah.
Let me choose the right one.
Yeah, and it's being motivated by fear or love, right? Both great motivators. One obviously better for you than the other, but I think a lot of times for me, most of my life, I was fueled by fear. Fear of not being good enough, not being welcome or not being wanted. And like that got me far enough. And then it only gets you so far until you are depleted and you're done and you're depressed and you've gone to those dark pits. And so, then the transition to love is a beautiful process, but that also takes for me, it took a lot of time and energy. I don't want to speak for others. And so making that transition was a journey of self-love and figuring that out. Yeah. And, too, when you brought up the integrity part, I 100% agree. I just assume, I have a basic assumption that if you're living in intention, you're doing it in integrity. But for sure in my life, it's come up to me that whenever I'm not in integrity, everything in my life is fucked up, for lack of a better term. And so living in integrity, even in the smallest things, and like it's funny because sometimes you ever like find yourself just like fibbing or making a little tiny white lie about something, and you're like, why did I just do that? It literally had no bearing on the situation, but it was like my brain just thought exaggerating a little bit was a good idea or whatever it may be, and it's like it changed nothing except for my experience. And so it's just living in integrity in the smallest of ways and the biggest of ways.
That ripples out. I love that you use that example. I talk about that a lot where like even a little thing, like for me, it's like say I snooze my alarm and got up at 6:15, but I say like, well, I got up at 6 a.m. today. No big deal. No one cares. Doesn't affect anyone, but I know.
But you lied to yourself.
Something within me. It's cut the integrity of my soul. So it's like, I love the saying, how you do one thing is how you do anything, right? Like that ripples out. So if I can be, and of course we're human and we don't need to be rigid. And if you do accidentally say 6 o'clock instead of just catch yourself, clean it up, right? Like get back into integrity. Yeah. And how can you continue to come back so that it ripples out in all areas of your life. And then you feel like I'm doing it, And I think imposter syndrome is something that we all experience as humans. And it's like, how do you overcome that? You live within your truth. Like you be your word as best as you can, So for me, that's like one of my biggest practices, especially like I'm sober. I work a program of recovery, and it's hugely important for me and to me that like I live an honest life, I live an authentic life. And from that place, we get so much freedom. Yeah. Like it frees up so much energy. Oh my gosh, beyond. Because I'm not wondering like, did someone see me waking up at 6:15? Did they know that I snoozed my alarm when it's like you can just relax and worry about the actual thing in front of you.
I was always taught to be a good little boy. And so most of my life, I was not speaking from my heart. And I was saying what I thought everybody else wanted me to say. And so I didn't realize how I was goddamn exhausted, always having to prepare a speech or prepare something that I thought everybody else wanted to hear instead of just saying what I wanted to say. And I made a deal with myself at this one practice. I was looking in the mirror, and the deal with myself was like, I'm not going to lie, and I'm just going to speak from the heart anymore. And I just remembered how much less tired I was moving forward from that day. And I didn't realize how much energy I was putting towards creating a speech or just always having to try to think about what other people want me to say instead of just saying what I want to say. It was much more exhausting to live up to everybody's expectations than just to be myself, which is what everybody really wants anyways. Yes. Everybody should just be themselves.
It's so true. I mean, that's literally why I shaved my head, because it was like I had this story that everyone, I would never find a partner. No one would love me if I was bald or knew I had bald spots. And it was so exhausting.
Yeah.
And once I shaved it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm free, right? Like it frees up so much energy. I can see it in your eyes. You can see it in the light, the joy, the radiance. It comes from living in authenticity. And you know, what's not meant for you, it's going to fall away, and that's okay, right? And I always think about how everything is either love or it's inviting us into a deeper experience of love.
Yeah.
So it might feel like not what we wanted, but it's taking us deeper in love.
100%. And the deepness of love that you're willing to experience with yourself is the depth of love that I can experience with you.
Yes.
And so the deeper you go with yourself, the deeper you can go with others.
Oh my gosh, yes. So much love here. So much love for you. What a magical conversation.
This is
I feel like
awesome.
we could talk forever.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I also love what you said too about the way you do one thing is the way you do anything. The way I said is the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And so, you know, it's all the little details. How do you fix your bed? How do you feed yourself? How do you relate with other human beings? It's everything in your life. It's not just one thing. And the way you show up in everything will reflect and cause reverberations and ripples into the universe. So speaking of ripples, I know we're about running out on time here, but I would love if you could take a couple minutes. Would you mind playing some beautiful music for us before you left?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's just take maybe a grounding moment together to conclude this conversation. So
Yeah.
if you would like to, and everyone listening, if you would like to just allow your eyes to gently close and take a deep inhale through your nose and a full exhale through your mouth. Take another deep inhale and a full exhale. And continue breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. Imagine a beautiful, healing white light washing over you, a divine light of unconditional love. And simply breathe, listen, and open. Focus on your heart and open to receive a message, a truth that your heart would like to share with you today. What is it that you know? Take a deep inhale through your nose and a full exhale through your mouth. One more deep inhale, full exhale. And when you're ready, gently blink your eyes open. Welcome back.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And, you know, I guess what was revealed to me when you were saying that is just, you know, doing this podcast is just like me living in my intention. And I'm just stoked about this conversation and sharing space with you. This has been absolutely lovely, and I'm super proud of you for living in your intention and your passion. And what I would like to end the podcast on is this. What is one thing, one piece of advice, or just one last thing that you'd like to leave the guests with, or something that's moved you in your journey?
Begin each day with intention and with gratitude. I would say that is the biggest thing that has impacted me. If you can start your day by taking a moment, whether it's with sound, with breath, But really tune into that message. What's true? What's present in your heart today? What's your baseline, right? Where are you at and what are you opening to? And then take a few minutes for gratitude. I like to share my gratitudes with other people. I have a few accountability groups and friends that I share my gratitudes with, but gratitude is the frequency of abundance. And when we appreciate something, it expands. So to start your day by setting your intention, maybe ask those questions, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? And then what are you grateful for?
Yeah.
Your life will transform in ways beyond what you can even imagine.
Yeah. I really resonate with that, and I start my day every day with affirmations and gratitudes. And I have an offering for you, if you're willing to listen or be open to it. A guy named Max Marine, he runs a group called Grateful Giraffes, and he gave me a practice to deepen your gratitude practice. So I have my list of gratitudes that changes every day, just thinking and loving and thanking God for my family, for my friends. But he recommends to choose one thing and to go really deep on that one thing, because then your body starts to vibrate on the frequency of gratitude. So whether it's like sunshine and being grateful for how it brings life to the earth, how it brings warmth to my skin, how it makes me look beautifully tan, or how it just helps to bring everything, give it such vibrance, right? And going deep on that one thing really helps to embody that vibration on a very deep level.
I love that. I love that so much. I lead every Tuesday. I go live on Instagram at 10 a.m. Pacific, and I lead a Gratitude Tuesday sound bath, and that's exactly what we do.
Awesome.
We tune into a gratitude, or a few, but we hone in on one and then just really embody it and work with the bowls to help us attune to it. So you'll have to come for Gratitude Tuesday sometime.
Yeah, please let me know.
I love that you share that practice. You're incredible, and you're doing such amazing work and just expanding your world, your life, and the lives and minds and hearts of so many people. So thank you for having me. It's been such a joy to connect and to share this space today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words. And then I would just love if you could let people know how to find you. And and then we'll end it on that.
Yeah. So my Instagram is The Copper Vessel. That's the best place to find me. I'm always on there. It's like where my community is based, and I answer all the DMs myself, and I'm posting inspirational messages and mini sound baths on there all the time. And then my website is thecoppervessel.com, and that shares a bit more about what I do in terms of like work and how we could work together. And then if anyone on here was inspired by sound healing and wants to learn more about how to explore the art and the science of sound healing and become a professional sound healer, I have a few different trainings and one professional certification training that's so life-changing, the Sound Healers Academy. And you can learn more about that at thesoundhealersacademy.com.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm super excited for people to chime in, and we'll put all these details in the notes. So don't worry, you'll be able to find all that. Thank you so much for your time. You're amazing. You're super rad. Thank you so much. Much love.
Much love. So many blessings.
Yeah. Everybody have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys next time.